With us to talk about the year's top stories, 4 journalists we polled to help determine our list. From the Albuquerque Journal, political writer Jim Monteleone is back. Also from the Capitol Press Corps, political reporter for the Santa Fe New Mexican, Steve Terrell, our old friend's back. The host of Public Square, our colleague Megan Kamerick, is doing double duty for us this week. And we're pleased to welcome back editor of the Santa Fe Reporter, Alexa Schertzinger. She joins us once again. It's been an interesting year. When we put together our list, there was barely a clear consensus. Maybe that's a good thing. We hope you at home will get a feel for that as we count down our top stories of the year. We start with the one thing we did all agree on. Felix Baumgartner, the daredevil, jumped to the edge of space this fall, breaking the speed of sound and all sorts of other records as he plummeted through the sky over Roswell in a pressurized suit. Steve, here's a fundamental question. Why was this story important? If this is a guy that looked like it was fun and games for his own benefit, it turned into a global phenomenon, and we benefited, didn't we?
You know, I was not interested in that story a bit until that Saturday morning.
Right.
I looked at Twitter, and I saw, a live link to I guess I'll watch it. And I did. I could not keep away from the computer, and I basically almost held my breath the entire time he was going down.
Yep.
It's just great to see, feat of skill like that right there, and everybody's watching on computer or on TV or whatever. It was,
Sure.
it was just amazing.
It was interesting question just came to mind, Jim. Somewhat Apollo-like moment for a new generation. We're old. Some of us at this table are old enough to remember how big it was, the first Apollo thing. Comparable?
Absolutely. I think there was an incredible amount of national interest. They, managed by Red Bull, did the whole jump, and it was live streamed, and they estimated 7.3 million people watched that live stream.
Wow.
So there was a ton of attention on it, and I don't know if you can necessarily have a direct correlation with Apollo, but a level of interest in that kind of space feat certainly somewhat comparable.
Absolutely. And just to continue Jim's thought, Megan, Facebook, other places, Twitter, you kept seeing the term for a new generation, a space sort of a thing for the new generation, which also includes, by the way, things like going up to space now from our spaceport and things. There's a corner that's been turned about this low orbital stuff. And who wins out of this, meaning in New Mexico? Did we get any bounce out of this that would be interesting, fun? Is it related to the UFO thing? Did it take us further along a road here?
That's a good question, Gene. Yeah, Roswell, UFO, I mean, we're already kind of known for that. I think anytime you have a positive kind of news story like that coming out of New Mexico, I think it is good because we have a lot of things that aren't positive.
Sure.
And it shows this kind of high-tech thing taking place here. And I don't remember if they, the Spaceport Authority used that to sort of riff off the spaceport. They should,
right?
To emphasize it because it's gone through some ups and downs and has facing some competition, but it still has potential.
Sure.
To bring us to the next generation of space travel.
Interesting. What would that mean for kids watching this? This is the part. My girls are 19 and 17. They were into it. You got to wonder about teenagers and stuff. You know
especially
what I mean?
teenage girls,
cool.
Gene, because not enough of them go into science and technology and engineering and computers. So the more kids, especially girls, especially minority students, you can get interested in these fields, the better, because despite the lingering recession, those are still pretty great fields, and we need people.
Absolutely.
So anything to get kids interested in science and space, I think is a great idea.
Sure, absolutely. Alexa, it's interesting remembering what Steve just said a second ago about the footage. And the shot I remember most is the one behind his head when he just kind of let himself off.
And everybody had the feeling you get.
Exactly. And it reminded me, being kids, a lot of us jumped off of trestles to go swimming. This is a whole other story.
Right.
And then the tumbling, remember that, before he gathered it in? So it wasn't exactly a clear shot. So on just a human feat level, maybe that's the reason it made our list here. I can't think of any other human feat by a solo man or woman that equaled anything like this.
Right, it's so daring. It's the highest jump ever. What was it, 24 miles high? Just crazy. You couldn't imagine that could happen. But I think it's an interesting difference between what Apollo was and what this is. This is cool, but it's not really achieving lunar exploration or any kind of greater purpose. It's just really cool.
Sure.
Not that that's not great, but
Sure, maybe it proves the point that you don't have to necessarily have to plant a flag on someone's terra to claim it like in some 200-year-old style to be an explorer, to be a new person or something. Interesting. What I liked about the story, interesting guys, is I love the fact that we had a Roswell command center. I love that. What other town in New Mexico can claim to have a command center with anything related to space? I'm not kidding about that. I thought that was kind of a big deal that you saw that. Now, it may have been just a big old trailer with a sign inside, but it's still, Steve, it was something that said expertise. It denoted science knowledge here. There's a lot of things that were implied about New Mexico.
I think the tourism department has a slogan they could use here. New Mexico, the world's jumping off place.
Ooh.
Nice. I like it.
Say that one more time. Are you watching Department of Tourism, people?
New Mexico, the world's jumping off place.
I love that. You're at Steve Terrell. We want to get him all credit. Now, coming in at number 9, the fake audit that shook the New Mexico Finance Authority and once again raised questions about corruption in New Mexico, unfortunately. Megan, this is something of a hard one to figure out. Certainly, the audit field was fake, but as it cost CEO Rick May his job and CEO John Duff his job, and Comptroller Greg Campbell not just his job, but a court conviction. The question still unanswered is why? Why? Not even Mr. Campbell seems to be able to answer that at this point. But why did this even happen? It's bizarre when you think about it.
It is bizarre, and the thing is that many New Mexicans might not realize is how key the New Mexico Finance Authority is in terms of financing infrastructure,
right?
Especially for small towns, for municipalities all over the state. It's a key entity that's very necessary, and We've learned that no money was embezzled recently this week, so that's good, but we were just talking, we still don't know the outcome in terms of our bond rating.
Which is pretty critical.
Yeah,
Sure,
so
absolutely.
it's still a little, we've been taken off the watch list, I understand, but having a good bond rating, I know this can seem kind of weedy and wonky to people, but it's very important in terms of how cheaply you can borrow money as a state. So the crappier your bond rating, the more you're going to pay for money, and that goes directly to building schools, to building infrastructure, to building roads. So the motives behind it, I'm still a little. Maybe you guys have some more insights on. I don't understand.
I'm glad you finished
It sounds like
that
there was
way.
some kind of pressure. They felt they had to pressure to get higher bond ratings, pressure to.
And I wonder, and Jim, this is a tough one to report because what Megan's mentioning is the public had to be brought from almost ground zero in the reporting. Who are these people? What do they do? What do the positions mean? Then we can get into the nuance of what actually happened. But to catch up with where Megan left off, we don't know the end of this thing nearly, do we? Like, why did this even happen? It's
there
so
are a lot of, I think there are a lot of holes in our understanding of it. That being said, there are some. And I mean, maybe the question of why isn't so vague because I mean, in talking with Greg Campbell, he said, I mean, he conceded that it was necessary to do a bond sale. They did a bond sale between March and April in order to raise money for schools and state projects, and that bond sale couldn't have happened without the updated audit. Now that in and of itself is where the kind of the investor fraud happened when they were providing investors who were selling those bonds with these bogus documents. They were, there was a mad rush to try and get this done on time. So there was this push, and so certainly there's still the unanswered question of where the push originated, whether it was, Greg Campbell, the controller, who said, "Oh, I'm running late. This is all my fault. I need to catch up." Or whether there was someone at some layer above him saying, "Wait, let's just make it happen."
Sure.
And that's still,
Yeah.
jury's still out.
It's interesting, Alexa, isn't it? Because we don't know, and so we're all left to sort of suppose what's been happening here. But what we do know is Mr. Campbell has pretty much fallen on his sword.
Right.
And that's the mystery to me. Like, why this one person in this? What stakes could have been so high for one person to say it's all on me, my bad, as if he made a bad play in a football game or something? It's crazy.
Yeah, that is the part that I find the most fascinating about this whole thing, is that, especially the news that nothing was embezzled. He wasn't trying to get anything from it necessarily, except to get done before his deadline, which anyone can
So
understand.
is it possible his motives were good? Not that justified.
I know. I think that's a possibility, right? Like,
It's a
we
legitimate
just don't
question.
know.
Absolutely. It's hard to tell because, Stevie, when you think about it, we had the CEO try to keep his job, but action was taken. He, liked his gig and all. In your mind, looking back, has the organization come to some kind of equilibrium now that these folks are out? Can they start fresh here?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if they can. I mean, they're going to have to. I guess they will get beyond it at some point. But there are so many unanswered questions. And
What's your reporter's sense of this, looking back now? What do you
It's the
what do you
weirdest
think?
scandal I've seen since I've been covering the state government, actually, because usually there are motives like taking cash for yourself or hiring your relatives or whatever, or what, there's always a very basic motive in this, and it's what it seems is like maybe he's just cutting corners for whatever reason, and
When we found out there was whiteout involved, that's when everybody sort of said, "Wait a minute, time out."
I missed that part.
yeah, but we still don't know the answer, and it's they will get past it, and I'm sure that do other things, and it'll be a scandal someplace else.
That's right. Alexis, staying over here, there was not a small voice in the African American community that says this was the fall guy because he was African American. It's simple to look at this just on the surface, and maybe for some folks to come to this conclusion. But you see what I'm saying? It just complicates matters. And this is what happens in these stories. These layers start getting piled on when you don't have answers, when you don't know the reasons of what's happening.
Right, we all start kind of speculating, trying to figure it out, but
That's right.
I guess that's just
Well, it is kind
why
of
we have to report it.
That's
Not
right,
that I
that's
would
right.
compare them to
Sure.
like some of the worst scams on Wall Street, like Bernie Madoff or something, but if you read about those, they often start in small ways and they kind of snowball
Right.
to places they never thought they'd go.
Right.
But it's sort of like, I'll just take this here and make this up, and then I'll figure it out. And then you keep doing that, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I owe $400 million.
Right, suddenly, right.
So I don't know if it was something like that.
It could
or,
be.
you know.
It's as good as anybody else has. Absolutely. Oversight, Jim. I mean, the legislature, committees, there are people that have oversight of these folks. Was there a ball dropped there as well?
Well, I think there's a general consensus that there was a ball drop because, that there's a board. I mean, there's an NMFA board that was described as being asleep at the wheel. I mean, the question of whether this board is better suited to address something like this in the future, clearly that board has been shaken up. There's been a lot of attention put to the fact that they missed this. I mean, you mentioned the whiteout in the fake audit. The signs in the fake audit were crystal clear if
Right.
anyone was looking. Something as simple as a listing. There's a listing on the last page of everyone who attended an exit conference, including board members. That never happened. If anyone had just opened up that audit and looked at the last page and saw their name as attending it, I mean, it's really easy to catch that.
And that related to the previous year's audit, correct?
Yeah, it was
That's
basically
right.
taking the previous year's audit, which was legitimate, although late, and then kind of recasting a couple things, changing numbers,
Yeah.
really generic. But the point is that there was new attention brought to that board, a shakeup of the chair position, and I think there's just going to be a different kind of attention paid. Those members are going to start participating in the meetings, which they hadn't
we can
been in
be
the
we can be
past.
assured of that. I'm sure at
that's
this
just
point. We're
what
back in a flash with numbers 8 and 7 as we count down the top stories of 2012.